Hello everyone, Fanny Menardi here from PachaMamArt. Welcome for a new video presentation of my Encyclopedia. Today we're talking about a very important topic because Secretary of State Marco Rubio right now is meeting with the foreign ministers of the NATO alliance. So the hot topic, right now with NATO is the war between Ukraine and Russia, and this is what we're talking about today, the Russian comeback. So before I start, I want to make a little parenthesis to say a big thank you to Newsmax, the news channel, especially to the journalists Carl Higby and Rob Finnerty. So I want to share more of your content on my page. Of course, you guys are so important, to relay the information and everything. I just, right now, I'm posting a lot from my book because I don't want to overcrowd my page, because I want people to read it. We all work really hard on this book, and I'm trying to post one chapter every day. So people actually take the time and the opportunity to read everything now. So when we make reference to the book later on, we don't have to repeat everything, and we can move on to implementing the projects and all the information that is in the book to go further and not only have to go back to the past. But I just really want to say a big thank you because, I always say that art can only live through the eyes that see it. If there's no audience, your work is meaningless. So every time that I've been trying to give up or I was annoyed with the progress not going fast enough and new people show up and show interest in the work, and this is my motivation, my fuel to keep going. So I'm so grateful. So Newsmax is obviously a pro-Republican channel, but we have to remember that the Democrats did some great things as well. I wanted to highlight that because I supported Kamala Harris and Joe Biden during their mandate, and they said they were rebuilding the neighborhoods, and they did. I couldn't find a job for 10 years in America, and all of a sudden, new schools popped up in my neighborhood. This is when I found a job, so all these welfare programs that is more like left-wing, that is very French, that we all love to have, our universal income, minimal income and stuff like that. It's so important for people who lose their jobs, for people who transition, and the problem, which is why the Republicans won the elections, is that people took advantage of it to commit massive frauds. So it's a call, to each community to be responsible and not fraud too much, but sometimes the lack of opportunities, you don't have a choice. You have to fraud, So when you look, Dodge, they cut down a lot of jobs, and that was not just DEI jobs. There were good people, good, projects and incentives in the middle with people who lost their jobs, who lost everything. The UN, the new government, they did not pay their dues to the United Nations. So because of all these frauds, then the good people, the humanitarians and the good people who are doing great things are losing those subventions that are essential for the countries and mostly the lower class and middle class to rise as well. Okay, so I see all these posts against drugs and fraud, but I promote drugs and fraud because it's not that I promote it, but I explain why I had to make loans so I could just leave America or I was going to end up being homeless. Why? Because jobs were denied to me for the longest time. Always the same game. And people do drugs because they're bored. Drugs is wasted potentials, wasted opportunities. You have high potential, you have great excitement and enthusiasm to go work with people, and you just here, on your own, like in your cave, for 10 years, and just like your brain has to work motivating things, otherwise you just get high to keep your brain busy and occupied. So before you hear pointing at people who take drugs and do frauds, let's point fingers at the problems and say, why aren't there more opportunities for the people to integrate the system? And then they don't even have time to do that anymore because they're thriving in what they're doing. You know, it's always the same games, the same blackmail. If I get this, you get that. But look where this took us. So this is the introduction taking us to the Russia theme, because this is what happened. The Russian, they saw what's going on, and they, you know, this blackmail, these never opportunities, and they said, you know, the West, they're always pointing fingers at Russia, but look how they treat their own citizens. So then they don't take people seriously anymore. And same for NATO, always the same speech. And you really feel like there is this status quo that has now been established, and that an economy is born from this war. And it's just now, you know, the defending Ukraine that is just the excuse to keep selling those loans, selling those weapons, shielding from the big bad Russia, which in fact, we need Russia a lot more than we need Ukraine for the denuclearization program, the Space Olympics. There, I say it all the time. Ukraine has nothing for us. They're drone specialists. Okay, drone specialists. Now we're gonna have. That's what you want, guys. That's really what you want. You want drone wars, where the military doesn't even fight anymore, and just civilians are killed by drones. You know what I mean? I really feel like, I don't want to send people to wars, but when you feel the weight of the loss, it makes you try to slow down on wars and try to reach a peace agreement, which NATO has not been doing at all. So there is a NATO summit coming in 6 weeks. I want to be there. I want the United States government to fulfill their promise and really come and get me and try to bring new perspectives to these negotiations. Be a spokesperson for Russia's side as well, because the Russians, they don't go to these summits. And I'm European, I'm American, and I'm also defending Russia, not because I think it's okay to go to war and blackmail the world, because you're defending, you know, people, but at the same time, they're defending a bigger cause that they wanted to see implemented, which is technology, sustainable space Olympics. Russia is a pioneer in sustainable energies. They have electric trains. They're always having summit about, you know, the pros and cons of nuclear power, even though they're more like pro-nuclear, while a decade ago they say that we have to get rid of nuclear weapons at least. So, you know, we're gonna see in my presentation that they talking about nuclear medicine, nuclear, you know, positive nuclear power, and all this stuff. Yes, so it's time to be the smarter person and stop the blackmail. Look where this took Kamala Harris when I tried to help her with her campaign. I wrote to the White House. I wrote to Kamala Harris. I was like, I want to help you win the elections because I'm French. I'm used to receiving helps from the government. And this doesn't mean I'm lazy. It means I use this time to find my passions and put all my energy, my work into it. Lazy people will always be lazy. You know, no matter if they're at work, they will do the bare minimum. If they're scamming the system, they will, or they're on holidays, they won't do anything, you know? And then you have the people who want to work, want to bring apart, who are educated, and this is also the legacy from their parents who wanted to educate them, that are going to use these helps to make a decent project to contribute to society. So mentorship is very important, of course, to change the mentalities. If you didn't receive an education because you are not lucky enough to have the money in America, because in America, if you don't go to private schools or have parents who really are behind you for homeworks, or some people are naturally serious and doing their things, but it's not everyone, let's be honest. So I was really for the democratic ideas. The problems, Democrats were too nice. They let things happen. They let NATO take advantage of them. They gained billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine, and NATO came and just grabbed the money, you know, and left. They gave money for all these fraud schemes and stuff. So this is why they were too kind. And now the Trump government, they have to fix all the issues. So yes, they look like the bad guys because sometimes you have to be strict. And I'm going to tell that story again for those who don't know the story. But probably if it didn't happen to me, I would have never understood what the Trump government did. But when I had my big house and I was in Florida, I had a lot of people come to my house, women with babies, friends, moms, that they had a baby, 2 babies, some of them 3, 4 babies, break up with the boyfriend, like every time they have a new boyfriend, they get a new baby, or you know, guys who don't commit, whatever. But I was just feeling bad. I was like, I'm lucky. I'm the lucky one. I have this house. And if I'm lucky enough, I need to help people. So every time they would call me, hey, can I stay with you for a few months? I was like, yes, come on. I have a room for you. Just, you know, help me a little bit in the house. They're like, yeah, of course. And then they would come, not pay a damn thing, not do anything. Their kids would like write on my walls, but trash my house. I would spend all my time off from my already job, cleaning after them, drowning because of the electricity bill, or one of them sometimes was paying the electricity bill, but that's minimal compared to all the work I had to do after them to clean up their mess. And every time, and many times, I kicked them out. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm already struggling. I'm drowning in debts. I'm working my butt off 50 hours a week. And you're here, staying in my house, you know, like I'm not your husband, you know, I'm not your husband. I'm not your parents. You have your parents in Jacksonville. Go to your parents. And I kicked them out. It broke my heart. I was like, how can I do this? I couldn't sleep how can I do this? Put kids out. You know, but I was like, if I don't, these bitches are gonna drown me. They don't care if I lose my house. They don't care if I lose my kid, because once they're gone, they're going back to their own thing. And proof is they didn't care, because they would not pay the bills or anything. So like, these people don't care that they're drowning me. So I need to protect and protect my family. So I had to kick them out. So this experience made me understand why we had to kick out the immigrants that were coming here to make a mess, instead of just forgiving everything. If not, you're drowning your own country. So yes, they're doing the dirty job, the harsh decisions, but it's to protect and to try to actually reboost our own economy with the people that are already there, and we can see how hard it is to offer a job or to offer good, decent opportunities, because I was a teacher and I earned like $5,000 a month, brut, which in the end, in my account, I had like $4,000 a month. That's the biggest paycheck I've ever had in my life. That's a good paycheck. Even with that, I couldn't afford to live on my own. So single parents, you know, if you're not in a couple with 2 paychecks, it's almost impossible to live in America. And for me, I didn't have family. I didn't have, you know, they were like, but why don't you move in another apartment? And I was like, the only reason why I'm in America is because I live in a castle with my art, and like, it's beautiful, something beautiful that I created. If I'm going to go live in a shit apartment with a job that is not the job I want to do, with no family or things that really inspires me to do, why am I going to move? You know? So that's why I left and went back to France. And even that, I didn't have the money to go back. They took all my money, like $2,000 to just for a fucking papers from the vet to travel internationally. To sell back my car, I had to pay $2,000 to sell my car, because even though I had paid already $10,000 on my car, 17% interest rate on my car loan, I had barely paid just a little bit of the interest rate, nothing on the actual principal of the car loan, which makes that I still owed $19,000 on a car that I already had paid $10,000 on it. Like, motherfuckers, seriously. So that's already $4,000 plus. Then I had to pay, well, of course, pay off all my bills. I paid off a lot of my loans as much as possible. I was trying to cancel out all my loans before I left. They stole $6,000 from me instead of paying off the loan, they paid their lawyer. And then, anyways, that moving out of my house cost me $10,000. And I couldn't even pay for the plane ticket. I had to take a loan so just I could leave. So sometimes you don't have a choice for survival, despite all your good intentions. So stop pointing fingers at, the people who struggle. Then $1 million schemes where you're, not helping anyone with your profit, you're pretending you're a daycare and things like this. That's a scandal. Because of these people, then they're shutting down all the helps. So anyways, that was my rant, and this is why there was this conflict also, because the Russians, I'm not saying, maybe they're torturing young people too, but so far I was the one telling all the stories, and they thought it was unacceptable, and they were like, okay, you guys give a job to that woman, and so we can negotiate, because they knew I had a great program, which includes Vladimir Putin's pardon for the war crimes during the war, because of course they were a civilian killed. It's hard to have a clean war. And mostly for the technology and for the Space Olympics program and the denuclearization program. Vladimir Putin is a very smart man, and he's showing you that if you don't want to have this nuclear blackmail going on, we need to have a bigger program that cancels all the nuclear weapons. All right, but nothing's moving. It's the status quo. I'm sick of it, and this ripples. The status quo in my life and in so many people's lives is the status quo in the wars. It just ripples out. The microcosm and the macrocosm are deeply related. So let's take a look at the book now. The Russian comeback. So here I wanted to promote a little bit what Russia has been doing. Okay, and my presidential recommendations for Operation Takeover. Okay, Operation Takeover. That will be when we finally reach an agreement with Ukraine. Stop selling them those drones. Give some land. Who cares about that land in Ukraine? Seriously, just give half of the land, split it, the other part, make it join NATO, and settle the peace agreement. Okay, so a little, I think I already made a video about that. I can't find it. Welcome to Russia. So here a few words in Russia. I'm trying to learn Russian. I have to confess I've stopped for the past few weeks, but I need to go back. And some letters look like our letters, but you pronounce them differently. For example, our P is the R. These are my tattoos here. Love, loyalty, and peace. Okay. Lyubov, Vernost, and Mir. So Mir, you remember the Mir station that they had in Russia means peace. Once again, that's a sign that the space race is going to be the key to the world peace. Because everybody's passionate with that. Okay, so of course, loyalty, because, it's like, I don't care. All the critics are receiving stuff. I don't care. It's like, I'm so insensitive to critics. Of course, I listen and I learn from it and I try to do better. But it doesn't hurt me in my feelings. Or if it does, I just keep doing my thing because I know my work is important. And at some point you get so far out in your work that giving up is more painful than struggling to make it happen. So no matter what people do or criticize, I keep going. And this is what Vladimir Putin is doing as well. He's just, no matter what we tell him or whatever, he says, no, it's how it's going to be. I'm just going to keep doing it until we reach this agreement that settles everyone in a good place. Not just Ukraine, not just Russia, not just me, not just the United States, everyone. Okay, so these are some funny sentences, because the man, let's be honest, he's a character. When Putin wakes up, the sun rises. When Putin was born, doctors cried. And my favorite right here, When Putin comes to your house, you become the guest, right? Like I did. So yeah. Be careful the games that you play because they turn against you, and sometimes you get caught in a game that you didn't start and you get involved into dirty business and then you pay for it. And this is a good lesson for teenagers that are watching us, that sometimes maybe people are telling you to go rob a bank with them. That's not your idea. And unfortunately, you were in the car with the wrong people and you end up in jail for it. So, and so that's the first lesson, to stop those blackmails. And you see where this took us. It took me to struggle for years. People didn't want to work with me. They accused me of things. But then Russia is losing a lot of facilities. They're being attacked by Ukraine right now. Ukraine lost a lot of casualties. There's no winners at wars, only losers. Everybody loses at war, except America. They're the only ones who win all the time. When Putin is late, time apologizes for running fast. That's what I need to tell my boss. When she says I'm late, I'm like, you should apologize for going too fast. Anyways, so this is the story of Vladimir Putin. He has a PhD in international law. He graduated university at 23 with a PhD. He's already really smart, very young. He becomes, then he works with the KGB, the secret services in Russia, and became the director in 1998. So 20 years ago, almost 30 years ago. Oh my God, we're almost late 2020s. Imagine that, time flies. Crazy. But he redressed the economy all his life. He's been really, defending his country, defending Russia, and he stood strong against the oppression of the entire world who wanted to be the monopoly and they wanted to take down Russia. But you see, he stood strong and now he's coming back in the global scene. He's a great friend with China. He's one of the, key characters in the BRICS alliance, very close to India, Brazil. So he can help us convince all the other countries of giving up the nuclear weapons so we can stop all those wars. But can we give him something that he wants? So, they can all calm down and then we can work on bigger things. Once again, Ukraine is not a part of NATO. Why is NATO spending so much money helping Ukraine? Ukraine is not a part of NATO, even though they promised 1,000 times that Ukraine was going to become a part of NATO. They're not doing it. They want to wait for the end of the war, but they're not doing anything to stop the war. They want Ukraine to be their shield. They want Ukraine to be the battlefield of Europe, the shield where, we're laundering money, we're trafficking weapons, we're, training our troops, lots of casualties in the battlefield, but nothing's moving. That is crazy. So here I say, can we let Russia have that one for once? Everything I just said, all that. Yes, with some funny pictures, but I'm just gonna let you read it. Yes, so it's nice to see that people all around the world actually see and appreciate your work and are ready to defend it like they defend their own country. Thank you. And like I said, I'm not defending the methods I've always preached many, 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 many times for peace agreements and to stop these blackmails and these wars. But well, what to do? You can't really, when you can't control something, you take a detour and you're trying to find solutions where you can. Little Russian lesson. Hello, thank you. Okay, привет, спасибо. Спасибо. Меня зовут Fanny Menardi. Я американец. Alright, they don't have verbs. They don't have verbs. They have pronouns and they have nouns. So you guess the verb with the noun. For example, I teacher, it means I am a teacher. Yeah. I hear is I am here. Yeah. All right. All the pronouns and everything. I feel like I've already done this conference. So I love this part right here. This one. Read this. Social platforms wire to your brain and amplify the waves between humans to actually transmit informations. You know, we have Wi-Fi waves all around us, and whether we see them or not, they connect us the same way it connects our computer to the Wi-Fi. Those waves connect us between each other. This is why we experience a lot of telepathy. This is why, honestly, all the time I think about something and then someone from my network, they post the answer. Like we're talking to each other because we're thinking about the same ideas, the same things. And we translate it in our own ways. But those waves, they connect us just like they connect computers. That's why we all, entangled. And we also have access to higher levels of intelligence that are hidden in the Akashic records or available in the Akashic records. The soul, communication, telepathy, channeling, frequency, shapeshifters. Also, don't you feel like you have clones of yourself all around the world that are doing the same, saying the same speech, the same words, the same ideas? This is because we are entangled. Remember, entanglement is the fact that electrons spin, connect with each other, and from one side of the world to the other side of the universe even, the information travels so fast. So this is why sometimes you receive information that you haven't learned in school or you haven't seen in the news, but all of a sudden you know something. Just like when I received my anti-gravity equation, I woke up one day with it and then I verified, and it was very, very relevant. I even talked about it to an Egyptologist that studied the ancient technologies. And he was like, wow, that's impressive. He said, why did you study that? I was like, I didn't. Well, of course, I followed a lot of conference from the International Space Federation. I follow Elon Musk. I follow everything, Robert Grant, all these Billy Carson, ancient technologies and all of that. But I'm not a mathematician. This stuff just came up in my brain and then I verified it. Okay, so this is all... I talk about Elon Musk in the chapter about Russia and the International Space Federation because, like I repeat, I believe that space engineering, space technology, the Space Olympics is the key negotiation point to bring peace between Ukraine and Russia. Just give something to Russia that they want that is more interesting than, a destroyed land in Ukraine. That they're going to make them want to work with us and soften up a little bit. Okay, so this is the whole goal. Of course, denuclearization. So my strategy is to start with the countries that are less trusted, okay, to be confiscated their nuclear weapons, and to end with the countries that are most trusted, because those who help around the world, who bring peace, who never used nuclear weapons, to keep them last as a guarantee, and those who are belligerent, who have been involved in wars, who are most likely to use nuclear weapons, then we take it from them. Just like in Iran now, they're doing everything they can to prevent them from using nuclear weapons. And we would work with the embassies and the government. My goal is to have more and more transparency between the countries and have, for example, a representative of each embassy gather with the government like every month and making an inventory of the nuclear weapons, having a summary from the military operations and technology that is being built. This should be transparent. Of course, we don't want to give away our secrets and all our technology, because otherwise we become weak if your opponents have better weapons than you. But isn't the goal to have no opponents? With education, once we do, who is an opponent to us in the world right now? We don't have any. America doesn't have any opponents in the world. Maybe the Middle East. In the Middle East, there are people who still hate America because I don't know. I don't even know why people hate Americans right now. Maybe because we go into their business, try to prevent them from killing each other all the time, and they want to leave us extremists, beat our women, and just do terrorist attacks all the time. The problem is that it spills all over the place. So that was my little flashback. Okay, this was Vladimir Putin. He said, eventually the world will need to get rid of its nuclear weapons. This was in a summit in the 90s. I think he said that, I don't remember, but when I saw the date, I was like, man, long time ago, but maybe not that far out. Maybe it was 2010. I couldn't find the quote again, but I know for sure I heard him say that. I was like, crazy, because now he walks around with his nuclear briefcase all the time. The Secretary General of the United Nations, the President of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, they all say the same thing. And this was Vladimir Putin before. Guys, I feel like I already did this conference. But it's okay. That's what politicians do, right? They repeat the same thing all the time. Mostly if I want to work with NATO, I'm just going to, record myself on the microphone and say the same thing for 4 years, and nothing's going to move at all. And then, beam, they'll vote for me to be the Secretary General. And so I can then launder money and, traffic weapons. Anyways, okay, so why does Vladimir Putin want to control Ukraine? So first, it used to belong to Russia. They never got over it. It's like an ex who wants his ex-wife back so bad. They want Ukraine bad. They love it so much. Imagine a guy loves you so much that they want you back really, really bad. Like, that's love, guys. That's just love. Then they are scared that Ukraine is going to team up with rivals. Okay, so they are scared that because Ukraine is not a part of NATO yet, so they're scared that another country allying with NATO nearby their borders is going to become a threat. So this is the point, really, I think, that is blocking the most. They just don't trust each other, NATO and Russia. They hate each other. They don't trust. So that's why I believe that President Trump also and I are the only two people so far that are trying to bring a mediation, that are in good terms with both sides, and are trying to build a bridge to renew the diplomatic relationships. Then, because he wants a better access to the Black Sea. No kidding. So cold in Russia, all the snow, maybe they want an access to the beach. And then they can calm down a little bit. All right. So, this little country right there, no culture. It's a brand new country that was became independent in 1991. So it's not even 10, 20, 30 years old. In 30 years old, they haven't built a big culture. Of course, people want to identify. They want to feel, I belong to Ukraine. I'm a Ukrainian. My language. So they want to belong. They want to revindicate their identity. But really, it's a 30 years old country that has not developed any culture, any strength yet. If there needs to be a change made, now is the time. Because these ongoing wars, then it's going to end up like the Middle East, where people fight for centuries. So let's solve this now. So sick of it. Then another factor is the human trafficking. Ukraine is the European capital of human trafficking and prostitution. And Russia went to stop these networks, and they were also calling them the neo-Nazi trends and networks. Like, I'm not there, honestly. I can't testify of that. What I can say is that I had a dream. I had like 4 dreams in my life. 4 or 5 dreams in my life that I know they were more than a dream, even though I dream all the time. You know what I dream about, by the way? You know the crazy things I dream about? Like every time there is an event, I go to sleep, and an event like in America, for example, or even here in France, I go to sleep and I astral travel to the event. I dream of this all the time. Like I dreamt that I was at the Met Gala and I was getting ready. Oh yeah, I dreamt I was at the Met Gala and I had people do my makeup all day. Like all night I was dreaming I was getting makeup on. Like my whole night was a glam. And then last week I dreamt that I was at the Cannes Festival. There was the Cannes Festival and Kim Kardashian had prepared a selection of dresses for me to choose from. And I remember I was trying on all the dresses, and that's crazy. One of the dresses was like an orange dress with silver outlines of Dragon Ball Z. Like crazy, like what the hell? Another dress was like super colorful. That wasn't really my thing. Another dress was white. But anyways, so I astral, and it's vivid dreams. I wake up, I'm like, oh, I was at the Cannes Festival yesterday. But anyways, I had big, like 4 or 5 big prophetic dreams that I really felt like I was really astral traveling and I was seeing things. And I've remembered it like a memory, not like a dream. So one of these dreams was being at the marina in Odessa. And this was at the very beginning of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. And I was walking right here, and then I didn't know this place. I looked it up on Google afterwards, and I found it exactly like in my dream. I was walking right there on this pier, and there were dolphins that came and told me like to dive in, and I dove in the water, and people started shooting at me. And then I found an underwater door, that when the door opened, there was like a woman alien sitting in a kitchen in an underground tunnel like this. And it was really cold. I remember she was sitting at the table waiting for me. Like she called me and she handed me a towel, and she looked just like that. And then I looked to the left, and there was like other rooms. It's not exactly like this because I couldn't find, but so I dreamt about this, and then I posted it, and I guess they believed it. I didn't even know that anyone was looking at my page at the time. There was literally 5 followers on my Facebook page, so I just posted my stuff, and then I guess they started believing the stuff I said, and they were like, oh, we're gonna go there and check. And then Operation Underground Railroad went to Ukraine, and they confirmed that they were underground human trafficking networks. And then Russia started going big time on the war and continuing on that, while NATO kept going, and America, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris kept going big on their pre-written speech of the violent Russian aggression, all this stuff. I'm gonna hurry up because I gotta go to work in 10 minutes. So this is my plan, my denuclearization plan. So I invite you to read that. I already explained it. Basically, also, that's kind of like, these are Russian monuments, but a little bit of what happened with my story also, the way I was treated in America. I was called every kind of name. I was bullied, really bullied. I was denied every type of opportunities. And I guess that, some people came and tried to make a point for me. So, and not only that, but what was going on, all the weapon trafficking, all NATO here gathering up, calling the black sheep, Vladimir Putin, like that's him, like getting pissed off right there, And next thing you know, beam. Yeah, then they were in full swing, like we're not stopping. So, yes, I think it's really, really time that we work together. I will plead for Vladimir Putin's pardon if he agrees on being a leader in the denuclearization program and convincing the BRICS countries, while our side, you know, the government, US government, Marco Rubio, and the Nobel Prize committees like France as well have very good connections with the French president, with the Nobel Prize committees, all people that are part of the NATO that would hopefully, I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure the Nobel Peace Committee, but support the idea. Remember that Nihon Idanko won the Nobel Peace Prize 2 years ago because they wanted to make a statement, against the dangers of nuclear weapons. So this was a little funny thing that are superstars of Hollywood that we love so much and inspire us. I love Hollywood movies. I love the Kardashians, so they're sharing the information in their own funny ways. But basically, we all agree that we should blow up Israel. All right, guys? We're sick of them, so sick of them. So this is my little comic one, what would you do if you had full immunity? So some people would like to shoot bad guys all the time. Some people would like to go around the world or maybe rob a bank. Some people would just, betray you behind your back every minute they can. Others, of course, would just like traffic weapons, just making fun of my network a little bit. It's good to laugh. And our good old Netanyahu right here, who would just like to kill everyone. So that's sad. Really sad. Yes, pursuing peace. So then this is a little bit of the process of the negotiations with the United States, who has really, 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 really been trying to be a mediator, gathering with NATO, gathering with BRICS country, meeting President Putin. Then you see the secret services, the FBI and stuff, they are still targeting Russian spies, but I appreciate that they actually trusted me to do the same thing and actually bring some information to them to show our willingness to work together. This is all the abductions. I mean, not all of them, but these are testimonies of Ukrainian soldiers that have been abducted by their own government. Oh my God, I got to tell you something. Oh my God. Listen, you know what? So I work with a guy who was in the Legion, in the French Legion, and he told me that 7 months ago, some recruiters called him and asked him if he wanted to join again to go to war. To go at war in the Ukraine-Russia war. And I was like, oh, really? And what side did they want you to fight for? He said, oh, they don't tell you. They just dispatch people depending on the needs. And I was like, what? So this is a proof that we're not even fighting for an ideology. This is just a business, a military economy that has been built that justifies NATO salaries and traffic weapons and stuff, because it's like they're recruiting people to go to war from Ukraine, for Ukraine and for Russia. Like it's just an economy. That's crazy. That drove me crazy when he told me that. I was like, we're not even fighting for one side or an ideology. We're just making money out of, it's like, he's like, it's $10,000 a month if you go fight, and for 4 months. And if you die, they still pay money plus some indemnities that is like $50,000, $40,000 or $50,000 to your family or one person of your choice. That would be like your child or something like that. So basically, let's say 80,000, let's say roughly, because they pay you the trips and everything, roughly $100,000, right? It costs them, one soldier for 4 months costs $100,000 to a country, a military organization, to send one soldier to war. Interesting information, right? I was like, kind of interesting to know that. But so that means how much more money they're making with those weapon trafficking. Just imagine the business that this is, if they're ready to pay that amount of money for soldiers. All right, let's keep going. So now these ones in France were a little bit more civilized. They said no thank you and they let him go. But in Ukraine, they don't even want to fight for their country anymore. They're abducting them. They're sick of it. This is, yes, President Trump one more time. Of course, Russia also has been kidnapping people, and children. We don't want to... I'm not defending Russia completely. They have to bring back children. Like, how can we even defend a cause if we're abducting children? The children should never be a target of war in Russia, in Ukraine, in Israel, in Palestine. They're freaking innocent. So this is our FBI. Our FBI that is working with us and trying to do everything they can to avoid spills and to reach peaceful agreements. I really feel like, if we can lower the military budget and reinvest it into humanitarian and environmental organizations and stuff that is just passionating, like the Blue Angels, the Space Race, Space Olympics, art galleries, architectures, building new museums, new malls with like beach and places where we can share culture. Yes, so let's remember this is a list of the NATO countries, the BRICS countries. So this, guys, I don't have time right now to read all of it. I have posted that. You go and read that. But yeah, Ukraine and Russia. This is Ukraine and Bulgaria, actually. So it could happen with Ukraine as well. Bulgaria is a great, great, great ally of Russia. They have been preaching for Russia. Maybe they are scared a little bit, but they're also very good friends. So, yes, one word, once again, to thank the Bulgaria-Eurasia Association. This is the page that has been working with me for many, many years, trying to restore the bridge between the countries, because they're in the middle of it, remember? So they're also tired of it. So they defend Russia, but they also connected with us, and they continued all that, you see? They kept always, they share about the Russian culture. They, when I posted things about our perspective, they reposted, translated their own fashion, the same thing to their own network and influencing. This is how we change the public influence. The public influence is everything, because once all the public is asking for something, the leaders, unless you're a dictator and you don't want to listen, but usually the government is supposed to build their politics on the people's demands, not just on what they do and the people to follow. There's the opposite. The government works for the people. So this is Vladimir Putin's speech at the Technology of the Future Forum. Once again, I'm so sorry. I don't have time to read all that. You know how to read, right? So they were doing all these pictures that really look like the pictures from the Nobel Prize comedy that they were posting on their page. So that was a cool wink. Also, that shows that, hey, we're watching what you guys are doing. They want to be a part of this network. Yep. How we lost my house also for all this, but we all lost a lot. It didn't have to be this way, really. But yeah, here's our Nobel Prize comedy when he met President Obama, and this was during the campaign last year. And this is a Naval Postgraduate School, also, that have been a great partner, at least online. We've been discussing, those curriculums since the beginning. This is like 5-6 years now that I did this article, When Art Meets Science. And then they started having this conference when they say where science means the art of warfare. I was like, man, I've been asking for 6 years that they change the curriculums from nuclear warfare to nuclear removal safety. 7 years, guys, talking to myself to a phone. And now the government is listening, the journalists are listening, NATO is listening, so I'm not there yet, even though I won't give up till I am. But the idea made its way up there. So that's my the 6 stages of acceptation, right? First, people ignore, then people are angry or they try to attack you. All the stages happen. First, they ignored me. Then they were angry, they attacked me. Then they ask question. Then they accept it. And then they promote it. And then it becomes harmony. So this is why the ideas made this way. We've passed the stage of they ignore me, they question, they accept. Now they're promoting it. So once enough people promotes it, then it's going to become a fact. It's going to become a harmony. It's like the 100th monkey theory. You know this this story, right? It's like 100 monkey. It's like you have a community of monkeys that develops a new, they find a new way to catch bananas or whatever. They develop a new skill in a community on an island disconnected from other monkeys. And as soon as they develop this other skill, they start observing those monkeys on the other side of the world developing those skills as well. It's because like we're soul groups, right? We're all connected. Like I said, entanglement, like electrons touching each other, like I was telling you earlier. It's real. So from the soul group, one community develops this skill or this idea or starts accepting something and everybody does it, and then it becomes natural. It becomes the norm. This is why the International Space Federation, Nassim Haramein, they've been great supporters. I've been a great supporter of them. They've been great supporters as well. We're fighting for the same thing. They developed the engineering and I harass the network. This is our deal, and now it's working. So not giving up. Now we've come too far until the harmony. We're at stage 5 and soon stage 6. All right, for a minute, I need to go, guys. I need to leave. This was my candidacy to UNESCO, but they kicked me out like everybody else, so I'm not gonna go. But now I'm trying to work with the boys, the United States government. This is a great government. They're so dynamic. They're funny. They're exciting. Everything is great about this mandate. I love it. And you see, some people, they were saying. What were they saying? They were criticizing Trump and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but you see how they convinced. Oh, yeah, they were criticizing J.D. Vance. They were like, oh, look how he criticized Trump before. And now he works for him. I was like, well, that's the proof that he was good enough to convince people better, to prove them better. And same for me. I was deeply against them. And now I'm like their greatest supporter, so loyal. So, that is... because they didn't try to attack the people that were against them. They listened and they took our ideas to improve their own government. So instead of being like, oh, those guys, they stole our ideas and now they're successful. No, you're like, oh my God, cool. It's politics. Politics is not about a party winning. Politics is about making people's lives better. So for me, whoever is at the government, I will work with them and I will try to make better. So now, I feel like we have the best of the elite of the people at the government right now. They're even in the prophecies, Hexet, his name in the tablets of emerald, it means the house of gods. And in Norway, there is a town called Hegnuset, which is like almost his entire name. That means the house that safeguards. So, success leaves clues. You have divinity leaves clues. Like people come with a divine mission, and it's not a coincidence that they reach those top levels. And you see all these people, these videos going around with Hexet, like how he was drinking and stuff. Yeah, he was kicked out of the government, of the military, and then he was a reporter and stuff like that. But he was probably not reaching his best potential. And when you have such skills and potential and you're not using it, you're freaking bored. You're just going down the hill, and you just need something. So people, they take drugs, they drink, whatever. You want this to stop, you offer people a better chance to prove themselves. And this is what the masterminds, they do all the time. They're taking people from where they are and taking where they need to be. And this is how you have less wars, because people are thriving, and happy people don't go to war. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, guys, this is all my Ministry of Sound. Go to my website, Ministry of Sound, PachaMamArt.org/Ministry of Sound. I have all the research here. This is the anti-gravity equation from Nassim Haramein that he found, which is why I'm campaigning for him for the Nobel Prize. Also, I'm campaigning for Elon Musk. I feel like these two need to work together. Absolutely. Like, they need to work together. Absolutely. Like, if they could both share a Nobel Prize this year and work on those sustainable spaceships, that will change the world. Because remember, Elon Musk is supposed to send 1,000 rockets or 10 rockets a day. By 2030, it's going to be polluting. There's going to be a mess. As much as I support space race, I love it. It's a passion. Like, I'm even an alien. But you can't do it to the detriment of the planet where you live and pollute it, and then you can't even breathe. Okay, so that's all my Ministry of Sound project. I wanted to create a whole more cultural and scientific, like, basically I wanted to recreate UNESCO in Florida. So yeah, basically it's the whole UNESCO I wanted to recreate in Florida. It was going to be like a mall with like shops, art galleries, scientific gatherings, conferences. They still don't want me. I'm so sick of it. I'm so freaking mad, guys. I'm telling you, like, ugh. Yeah. But that's it. And NASA also, great. NASA and SpaceX working together. The Navy working with NASA when they're picking up rockets, even with SpaceX and all. Great collaboration. Amazing era we live in. The Pentagon visiting SpaceX, visiting all the big factories and the leaders in the industry. This very, very dynamic government, the women astronauts, all this stuff, the Board of Peace, and that's it. I gotta go. But I hope it was interesting to you, bring you a new perspective on the possibilities of how to get out of this war with Ukraine, and having bigger projects, collaboration in a world that really has nothing to fight about, and just inspiration and good, healthy competition, But even now, you saw like one of the racers at the F1, that just suddenly died and stuff. You're like, in all feels like, competition will make you, people hate each other and be aggressive towards each other. But more and more, I think that giving more chances, giving more opportunities, giving Vladimir Putin the opportunity to come back on the global scene with this big responsibility is going to change the whole dynamic of the world. Because right now, the whole world is against Russia. Like, I don't know what's going on. But everybody's like, but Israel, no problem. Whatever. Okay, I gotta go. Have a great evening.